The 10th of July 1999, exactly 2 years after I was born, a bloody day reveals itself at the Obafemi Awolowo University, OAU. And who was behind it? Cultists. This cultists, will call them the Black Axe. And get ready, this is going to be long. This Black Axe group maxed out rounds of bullets and wielding machetes and axes at 3 a.m. in a university hall. The story actually starts months before, on the 7th of March. This Black Axe crew were driving down the campus road, and then a non-entity driver just, skidded and overtook him. And then the guy looks and says, "Who the hell is this guy to overtake me? Who the hell are you?" And so he pumped on the gas and, he began to fire, chasing down the driver in front. And the driver in front, thinking that this was a car race, also pumped up the gas and zoom, and vroom, 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 they went flying across the university room. Soon, the guy in front realizes this is not a race. This is a full-blown car chase. And so my guy began to run for his life. He raced hastily into a car park and went into a hall to hide himself. Oh, the Black Axe group will not have it. They are going to teach that boy a lesson. But here is what happens. The student union government had already learned about this incident and knew from the antecedents of this Black Axe group that this was going to cause a ruckus. And so this guy, George Iwilade, the Secretary General for this particular SUG group, decides to intervene in the matter. And so he mobilizes boys and move. Down they go to the quarters of this Black Axe group. And so they went into the quarters of this boy, and when they got there, they found 9 boys alongside some very dangerous weapons like a submachine gun, a locally made gun, axes, bayonets, and many other weapons like cutlasses and knives, alongside the definitive regalia for the Black Axe group: the black beret, the black shirt, the black trousers. And bam, they were arrested and held in the police custody for 2 weeks, and then they were left on bail. This is the thing about this case. Not only did the judge free the Black Axe group, he also, wait for it, demanded that the evidences be destroyed. This meant that the case could not be reopened. I sense shady, don't you? I couldn't find the name of the judge, but that single action led to one of the most gruesome events that ever occurred in any Nigerian university. After the Black Axe group was stupidly released by this unknown and possibly never to be remembered judge, these deadbeats were so sore, their egos were bruised, and they felt, nah, we are going to teach them a lesson. Back in the streets of OAU, the students were getting restless. They knew that these boys were back in town, getting to classes, looking at them in the face, and giving them suspicious eyes. So they began to protest towards the school authority. And under pressure, the school authority actually released a letter saying that these students were suspended from the school. But I don't think these students actually got the letter or the message, because after their suspension, the cultists were still very much at large. Shortly afterwards, again due to the students' unrest, the school was shut down for some weeks, and then it reopened 3 months ago. This brings us to July. Now, not only the students returned, also the Black Axe members actually returned and started going to class. The students again raised an alarm, but what does the school do this time? They decide, oh, we're going to send another letter. They send another letter just weeks before the actual operation happened. So it is unclear if the students actually got the letter or not. So on the 9th of July, the eve of this gruesome massacre, some groups, the less violent groups like the Kegites and the Manowo group, decided to host a party. It was a very lovely thing. Everybody was present. Wonderful students, first year students, second year students. And who was not invited? So when the party was getting to its school, like around 3 a.m., the students, some decided to go into their room to rest, while some others just hung around to enjoy their time. At around 3 a.m., chaos breaks out. The Black Axe group storms the party and the halls, guns are blazing. Blam, blam, blam. Their targets? The boys who dared to challenge them. The Black Axe group were calling out names. Legacy, come out! That's the suspended SUG president, Lanre Adeleke. Africa, come out! That's George Iwilade, our person of interest. And then they also called on to Dexter, come out, who was the chief of the Kegite. They stomped into room 184 and they found Efe Ekede. Blam, blam, blam. Then they proceeded to room 230 and found Charles Ita. And again, blam, blam, blam. He was shot. In the corridors outside the Kegite headquarters, they found Yemi Ajiteru. And again, blam, blam, blam to his head. They found Iwilade in room 273 with Tunde Oke. And then, blam, 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 shot him in the head. And to make sure that he was dead, they axed his head into pieces. Gross. And then they looked at Tunde Oke and blam, shot him in the abdomen. Down. Legacy escaped by jumping over the balcony, and so did Dexter too. The band of thugs then proceeded through Fajuyi Hall, where they found Eviano Ekelemo, who was a medical student but wasn't remotely connected to any of the activism, was not remotely connected to any of the events, but blam, blam, it was shot dead too. In total rage, the Black Axe crew rampaged the old hall, blam, 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 shooting around, eventually injuring over 25 students, killing 5, where one was the only survivor from the gunshot wounds. Then the murderers led Faji all through the bush path, their next location to drive down to the SUG building. There, they ransacked everywhere looking for either Legacy or Dexter, but they did not find them, and so they went into their car and zoomed off. Security actually ran away when they began to hear the sounds of gunshots. Blam, blam, blam. They took off. So they left the students alone with no one to protect them. Now, I cannot show you the images of the gruesome murders because of obvious reasons, but these are some images of the people that were unalive. This is the image of Africa, 21-year-old law student, the martyr. The casualties: Eviano Ekelemo, a 400-level student of the medical school; Yemi Ajiteru, a religious studies student; Babatunde Oke, a 100-level student; Ekpede Godfrey, a 200-level psychology student; and the man who led the challenge, Africa himself, George Iwelade. He was a 400-level law student. Oh, this story doesn't end here. It gets even wilder. This massacre actually caused a huge outrage in the whole of OAU, and this outrage led to a protest to remove the vice-chancellor, Wale Omole. He was actually accused of leaving a room for courtesan to continue in OAU, and also accused, actually, of being a major part in the murders. Though some of the suspects were caught, the wild part of this was that nobody was actually put to jail for any of this crime, even though many of these cultists were known and they were seen doing these acts. One of the cult members that was caught, Efosa, who was a student from the University of Lagos, actually claimed that the vice-chancellor gave them up to 350,000 naira to buy weapons. That's a pretty huge allegation. What sort of human being is the vice-chancellor? This event actually led to a series of events, which in turn led to the end of cultism in Nigeria, and also the remembrance of Iwelade Africa. These are some of the tweets that still trail as history from that gruesome event. I am deeply saddened, mostly by the fact that no one was held accountable for all of these crimes.
And they now claim that the vice-chancellor is their patron. Whether right or wrong, I think the university authority should come out, either debunk it or accept it or whatsoever, talk about it. For days he wasn't talking about it, about 2 or 3 days, and I decided to write a letter to the vice-chancellor to either debunk or tell us his own view about it. But what we saw was that he arrogantly brought in mobile policemen and shut down the school. And asked, no protest, nothing. And asked all of us to vacate the university campus immediately.
No justice was served, but Africa, it lives on.